made about the president's handling of the attacks in the Middle East. Matthew Dowd, a top strategist for President George W. Bush, said it almost feels like Sarah Palin is his former foreign policy advisor. It's just a huge mistake on the Romney campaign's part. Huge mistake. Republican Congressman Peter King, the chair of the Homeland Security Committee, says Romney was right on the larger point, but I probably would have waited half a day. Despite the criticism, others are coming to Governor Romney's defense. Former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld tweeted, "The attacks on our embassies and diplomats are a result of perceived American weakness. Mitt Romney is right to point that out." Our next guest, Rich Lowry, the editor of the National Review, says late Tuesday night, Romney condemned the thoroughly condemnable embassy press release. In a rapid confirmation of Romney's wisdom in doing so, the White House threw the embassy's statement under the bus. It doesn't reflect the views of the U.S. government. Meanwhile, some are now asking whether the president should have gone to Vegas to campaign in the immediate aftermath of the deaths of our ambassador to Libya and the 3 others in the embassy. Joining us now is Rich Lowry, the editor for the National Review and a Fox News contributor. Also with us, Simon Rosenberg, president and founder of NDN and a former Clinton campaign advisor. Rich, you say Mitt Romney was exactly right in saying what he said when he did.
Yeah, look, he's getting pressure all day because it's a major event, attacks on our embassy, to issue a statement. He issued a statement that rightly focused on this completely indefensible press release that was reaffirmed during the day by the embassy in Egypt, basically apologizing to these protesters and saying people in America were abusing their free speech rights, which is just not the place of one of our embassies to comment on things Americans say in this country exercising their constitutional rights. And for confirmation that that embassy statement was totally indefensible, the White House distanced itself from it and threw the statement under the bus and said it had nothing to do with it. So you would have thought that Romney had been vindicated, but the next morning the press woke up and decided Mitt Romney had to apologize or something for this, and when he didn't, began to write stories about how his campaign was basically over and had blown itself up in a Lehman moment, which is just totally and lays bare the utter bias of our mainstream media once again.
Simon, that tweet, that initial or series of tweets really from the Cairo embassy was essentially revoked by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, by the State Department, and by Mitt Romney, but only Romney is taking the heat for attacking it. Why?
Well, I think what I would criticize Mitt Romney for in particular was what he did not in the evening but the next morning. I mean, the next morning we had a very volatile situation. Americans had died. And he jumped out in front of the president and the Secretary of State with a vicious political attack that essentially accused the president of treason. I mean, if you really listen to what he said, was that siding with the terrorists and sympathizing with the terrorists, it was way over the top. It was clearly he was trying to change a political dynamic of what had been a very bad week for him in terms of polling and the strong Democratic performance at their convention. And I think he just made a mistake. I mean, I want to be clear. I'm not totally disagreeing with Rich in the sense that what happened on Tuesday night was one thing. What happened on Wednesday was a catastrophic political mistake that should not have been done. You know, what I was told yesterday when I was on Fox was that we should be standing shoulder to shoulder with Benjamin Netanyahu and showing no daylight between the two of us. How about Mitt Romney standing shoulder to shoulder with President Obama at a critical moment in American foreign policy? Why is it more appropriate to stand with a foreign leader than it is with their own president? I think it showed bad judgment and reminded all of us this is the least experienced foreign policy team. No military, no foreign policy experience, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, and it showed yesterday.
But, Simon, would you say the same thing about the president's decision in the aftermath of these deaths? To skip the intelligence briefing and get on Air Force One and fly out to Las Vegas for
the president was clearly in charge yesterday. Secretary of State and he came out. We have a large government that was working on this. He did the right thing yesterday. He made his statement clear and unequivocal. We have moved warships off of. There are significant actions being taken right now, put into place. He's on top of this and he's moving ahead.
All right. I'm guessing, Rich, you have some other thoughts on that. So we're going to bring you guys back after a quick break. More with our fair and balanced discussion. Coming up.
Begin.